Marriage is not a place for boys and girls. Marriage is a place for maturity.
Marriage is not a place for boys and girls.
I think it's not mercy if it's earned.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Very
Let's say
valid.
that again.
Very
It's
valid.
not mercy if it's earned.
yes, it's not mercy if it's earned.
So one time, I think when we got our first baby, Eric changed his working style. He was so excited to have this baby, and he was so happy. We all know what it is to have a first baby.
There is absolutely no way I am going to be in this marriage with Jane and then think that I am going to do whatever I want without necessarily being accountable to her. And it should be the other way around. Jane shouldn't be in this marriage and think that I'm in this marriage and I can do what I want. And actually, very many people out there do not understand why they are married. Because marriage is about doing life together. And you can't do life together when one party is in this mode,
My lunch, my shirt.
everything, and it's the other party that is working hard to make the thing work. That's just
African
not
culture.
marriage.
My husband takes away everything. We buy land together. He sells it, but I have to forgive. You know, what's the balance? You know, because again,
Supposed to
I
be
don't
wise.
want to be so injured and I don't even have any more life or zeal to work hard or anything. So I think there's a place for defining what the challenge is and agreeing or seeking counsel.
Then the challenge has been, in most of the cases, that when something is pointed out, the other party looks at it as an accusation. And immediately they go on the defensive. And with that, you can never realize forgiveness.
Today we're having a very interesting conversation, and we're here with a couple of our friends, actually a couple of couples. We're going to be talking about forgiveness in marriage and showing mercy. We keep hearing these things, hey, forgive your person, but now we want to hear from couples who have actually done that, lived through experiences, and how they have managed to travail and extend mercy. And because marriage is a lifetime thing, how do I keep showing mercy to someone? Like sometimes you even have to show mercy to someone who has not yet reformed. Like through their habit, you're still extending mercy. How do you do that? How do you forgive someone who hasn't even apologized? That's our discussion for today.
My name is Andrew Romanzi, and this is my wife.
Best. I'm waiting to be introduced.
My wife, Best Romanzi, and we are happy to be here on this platform. It's a blessing and an honor for us.
Thank you very much. My name is Kigai Eric, and this is my queen, Jane Kigai. Nice being here. Thanks for having us, Mark and Daisy.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you for honoring our invitation. So, first I want to ask, what does forgiveness in marriage look like?
I think for me, forgiveness means different things to different people. But every time the word forgiveness comes into play, for me, the first thing that pops up is letting go. Things to do with forgiveness come with lots of details that bring into play resentment, that bring into play hurt, and all those associated things. And so when you want to let go of things like resentment, of things like hurt, and the other negative connotations that are associated to different situations that put you in a very tricky place where you are carrying baggage that you shouldn't be carrying, you definitely have to let go. So you can't talk about forgiveness if you're not thinking of letting go. Yeah.
That's very clear.
So I want to ask, have you been, of course you have been in a place where you have to forgive. What is the experience that really shook you and you struggled to forgive?
Forgiveness is an everyday, I think, decision, because it's not like you're anticipating the other person to wrong you, to error or anything like that. But it's like a requirement, especially as a Christian, a married couple. You have to know that the person you're marrying is not perfect, and you also have to know that you're not perfect either. So you just have to have it in you on a daily basis to be ready in case anything happens, to be open to the idea of forgiving them, no matter what. Otherwise, then it doesn't work. I think at those first years of marriage, we always had a lot of outbursts. We always had a lot of fights.
Everyone wants to win.
Yeah, you're still conforming.
Arguments.
Getting
everyone
used
is selfish. I think the selfishness in the first year of our marriage. Everyone feels like they're the ones on top. They're the ones who want to win. They're the ones who are, who are winning the argument. They're the ones who are right.
Then there are those moments when one makes a mistake. Like I'm not talking of a big thing, but something that maybe costs money, and you're seeing, how do I now have to forgive this person? Yet they did this thing, and it's even worse when you have warned them. You said, don't do this thing,
They go ahead.
and they still go ahead and do it, and then after they've messed up, then you have to forgive them. That's very hard. It
And
takes
you're not
time.
pointing
You
fingers
first
and
tell them,
saying,
I told
"But
you
I
so."
It takes a lot of it takes a strong character to just forgive. It's something you learn gradually as you're married, and I guess even in 10 years, 15 years, you're still learning how to perfect it.
I want us to really get down into the mud. So have you thought of an experience that you want to share?
But just before sharing that experience, I think marriage without forgiveness is just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because it's a daily, after the fires. Oh, I love him. Oh my goodness, he's so sweet. He's so
The
kind.
butterflies die.
And then you discover that he actually has some weaknesses which really get under the nerve.
You're like, hey.
Those ones which you can't just ignore.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, no, he can't do this again. He can't do this again. So I think for me that is something I should point out, that forgiveness and marriage are they go hand in hand. You can't say I'm married and then you're not willing to forgive.
Yeah.
Now, and then when we were in school or when we were not married, it was easy. If someone hurts me, if Daisy does something and I don't like it, it's okay. Yeah, she can be there and I be this side. But you see,
Now
when you're
tied
married,
for life.
you are together.
Yeah.
You must walk the same direction. And then the feelings, like he said, are there. You're hurting. So the willingness to let go is really, really critical. So one time, I think when we got our first baby, Eric changed his walking style. He was so excited to have this baby, and we were so happy. We all know what it is to have a first baby. And it was in the area of finances. Like someone is so excited, they walk into this place, shopping mall or something, and they bought something we really don't need. Something very expensive that could buy so many other things and I just looked at it. He came so happy. Oh, honey, I have brought this thing. And my first question was, do we really need that? And like given the way we do our life, we really didn't need that particular item.
We've actually never used it.
We've never
You still
used
have
it.
it?
We have it, yeah. I think it's somewhere in the store or something because.
You'll tell us off camera.
We bought this particular thing, and you know, when you watch the movies, when you see how parents carry along their
Like
children
even baby,
everywhere,
my baby.
so he thought, we must
Yeah.
have this for my
Yeah.
baby, and oh no. The
I
thing-
kept imagining myself carrying our son in
It
style.
was that baby
you know.
carrier on the back, like we never carried that on the back. And it was a very nice quality and everything, but it is so nice. But like to enjoy it for the cost, I felt no. It took me some time. I kept saying, honey, if you want to buy anything for the baby, please let
Goes out.
So at a certain point, it felt like I was robbing him of the freedom to buy for his baby, for his child, his son, something. So I had to realize that and say, no, okay, well, the money was spent. This item is really good, but just because I'm not going to use it doesn't mean that it has to rob him of the freedom to think, to be spontaneous and think for the baby. So some of those things, especially when it comes to money, like he said, you told someone, please, let's be careful how we are spending and what, and then someone finds something really good, and sometimes it can be even a gift for you.
Yeah, but it was not in the budget.
Maybe I could say that.
So, have you gone through an experience where you've had to forgive your spouse for like things that happened even before you were married,
Oh, yes.
and say they didn't reveal them
I
before,
think we are
and then now you're finding out, and you're like,
Now let's start from
You've
there.
You've helped us. We were struggling to remember. Now we have remembered.
Now let's start from there.
Yeah.
tell us.
Okay, so
Brings me to that question. Why is it that it seems to be so difficult to forgive
The person you love
the person you love
the
most?
most.
And yet,
Easier to
like Jen
forgive.
said,
this is crazy.
if
It's
you
easier to
just
forgive
meet someone on the
strangers.
street and they do something
Yeah.
to you, it's just.
Yeah.
But
I think it's the expectation, then also the standard you naturally like set for them, because in your eyes they are perfect, and most people, if you notice during the wedding speeches, say one of the reasons why they married the person is because this is exactly who they wanted, who they were looking for, and so on and so forth, before they actually get to know the person better in the marriage. So it's a shock for someone who thought they had married, a perfect person, and then they discover
they're human beings.
Yes.
Human beings.
So the experience I've just recalled, for us, especially us, I think ours was unique. It was before we got married, when we decided to dig into our past and talk about some of the things we did in the past, especially the things we did when we were dating, and even the things we did before. So I have a very weird past, a very dark past, and I just felt this burden to tell her and open up to her before we got married.
That's not how it happened.
And I know
Let me remind you.
there are people watching who know. They know my past. So
They're looking at you and
yeah, they're having a blast right now. But I told her everything. Okay, for those who are watching, I told her everything, and when I did, it was not easy for her to forgive me instantly. It took
And it's
time.
not like mine was innocent either. Like
And
my
I
side.
think it happened when she first opened up. I think she first opened up.
Yeah.
Then I also opened
That's how
up.
it happened.
Yeah, she started. So she opened up about something. I forgave her immediately because you know what you you know your things are worse, so you forgive her. You're like, that's nothing. Then you reveal your things, and then she now starts struggling. Starts struggling. Yet you're not even given her 100%.
everything.
You not told her everything, And then she struggles, then she forgives, and she says, even me, this and this. Then you're like,
Come
forgive
on.
you. Hey, they're like, even me, this
Even
and
me,
this.
this and that.
You know? And she struggles. And we did that back and forth for a while until we were like, now we are ready
Yeah.
to start this journey. You know? And
We thought we shouldn't get married before. Like no one should come up after we are married and claim that I saw this person doing this and this and this.
That's
I
what
saw them in some joint
yeah,
somewhere.
or you're walking and then you meet an ex or something, you know, from the past, someone from the past. You meet somebody on the street and the person's like, your husband used to do this and that, and then, you know, they're hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get out of the way, and that's what we did, and it helped us actually to understand each other.
That was the beginning.
Yeah,
of
and build
forgiveness.
trust. It helped us also build trust. Yes.
I like that you share that it's important for couples who are planning to get married to lay everything down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lay yourself bare before yourself, because you're going to do marriage for life, and this person will one day find out that thing, and then you now can't start.
You don't want to shock your partner.
Yeah.
Like they find out you are dating so many other people, and then they're getting to know in marriage. It's not fair.
It's a very weird thing when you have the kind of past I had, and you want to start on a fresh page. You want to start a journey with somebody. It's very important that they understand where you came from. You know, the journey doesn't start on the wedding day, and some people think that that's where they can start the journey, and then you later on figure it out. But it's much better to start from zero. Tell them everything before they get to know after. You know, well, it worked for us.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult to forgive after you discover
It feels like
It
feels like betrayal.
Because if you knew this critical part of my past, it's really, really
would have helped you make a better decision.
maybe I would have made another.
Change my mind.
That's the fear.
And I think that's the fear that people have. That if I reveal everything, this guy is going to go.
But we have to. I think the truth sets you free. Yeah, the truth sets us free. If for example, I've had some friends say, "Oh no, he had a child and he didn't tell me," and I really feel I can't trust again. I feel betrayed. How can I trust that maybe he didn't do ABCD and so on? So I think it would be nice, like Andrew is saying, to just open up. If you really love this person, to tell them the truth, let them choose from that and say, okay, well, irrespective of this, I love you. They will trust you even better than try to hide, and then they discover, and then they're wondering what else do I need to find out, you know. It just puts a big crack in your relationship. And so even forgiving you becomes a challenge along the way.
I also remember when we were about to get married, Pastor Jairus is the one who counseled us, and when we first met him, he was we were telling him all these nice things about each other. And I think he was
a good first impression.
You know, you want to make a good
As a
first
couple.
impression. You want to please the counselor. You want to show them for you, you're perfect. So that's not actually what he was looking out for. So when we began sharing with him
Vulnerable.
how many mistakes we made in the past, we actually shared with him how much, you know, our journey, where we're coming from. And then he told us, okay, now you're ready to get married. And he said, I appreciate counseling a couple that has wintered and summered. And if a couple comes here and all they're showing is perfection, and I actually tell them, you're not ready to get married, because if you can't winter and summer before, how will you know that you'll make it through your first fight in the marriage? So
So
That's good.
what advice would you give to a couple? Say the husband has maybe stepped out on the wife. But
Stepped out, like how?
adultery.
Oh, okay.
And she has
Is
just
that what they are calling it these days?
it can be no it
Adultery
can,
is the way the Bible says.
It's like a biblical term.
no, okay, let me break it down. Let it be emotional, has had an emotional affair, or has even gone down to doing it physically, but he has stepped out on his marriage, on his wife. but he's not willing to admit it.
So he has
The
cheated on
wife,
his wife.
yes, he has cheated on his wife. The wife just discovers it, like she just stumbles on it, and she still wants to be in her marriage, but she's struggling to get past that hurt, that betrayal. What advice would you give her?
Give the lady or the gentleman?
Both. The couple.
The couple.
But the guy doesn't want to admit. Like when
It's all good.
Okay, I think we have to go back to the basics first. First of all, I didn't know they called it stepped out. That's a new term for me.
It's called
But
stepping out. Come
it's
on.
called stepping out. I didn't know.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, times have changed. So we go back to the basics. You go back to the foundation, and the whole idea. I think the interest there for the person intervening is to remember one thing, and that is they are not for separation.
Yeah.
You know, so any incident where the couple seems to want to propose the idea, or when you even feel internally, as you sympathize with one of them or empathize with one of them, you begin to get tempted to want to give them that option. It is not your place as a third party to advise someone to separate. It's as Christians, that's not what we believe. Though there are many other people that have that opinion, but that's not ours. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is to know that siding with one of them or showing that you are on the side of one of them means you lose both of them.
Yeah.
And we've had that experience, and we know better that we shouldn't appear to look as though we're on one side, because then when things work out, you know, and you know,
Common enemy.
come back to you.
hey, enemy number one,
You wanted
the
to
one
divide
who,
us.
Guy is
You wanted to
Hey.
separate
Common
us.
enemy.
you know, and that's what they'll use to actually come together, and then because it will bring the enemy of my enemy, you know, is my friend. So they'll come together and then gang up against you, and then you lose the relationship that you had. Now you don't even have an opportunity anymore to minister to that couple.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing you need to know going into it. Then the third thing is to be open-minded, not to go in with a fixed or a stuck mindset. You know, you go in and you just want to demonize, you know, what happened, and then you hear details of what happened, and then you're acting like you know, it's like you've never heard of it before. You've never watched a movie in your life, or you don't know what's happening in the world. I think that's something you also need to check. You need to make sure that you're ready. Yeah, anything can happen, and so many couples have different experiences and different reasons why they separate.
No one is immune.
Yeah, some people have so many bad experiences, so when they go into it, they find it's a small thing that is separating them, and then you now want to make their thing small. That's not a good idea. Then also, someone goes in with ignorance, like they're naive. They don't know what is going on out there, and then they hear some of the things that the other guy did or this other person did, and then they make it look like there's no return, you know. So you have to go in with a ready heart to listen, but also be compassionate and empathy. And okay, you can't empathize, but you can sympathize. You can try to understand them, and at their level, take steps to get them to where you want them to be, where they are at a point where they can talk. Then, of course, you have to emphasize forgiveness, especially for the one that was wronged or betrayed. You have to keep emphasizing forgiveness. But I think above all, you have to pray before you meet them, and then you have to pray for them while you get information about what's going on.
That's true.
Because it can be overwhelming, you know, especially even for them. It's overwhelming for you, but then it's also overwhelming for them, and most likely they're not praying. So it's an opportunity for you to get information that you can take to God in prayer, pray about, and then...
So my question now, in that regard, for all of us is, why must I forgive my spouse? Because be honest, guys, there are things which people can. I mean, I've heard of a couple where the husband just wiped out all the accounts.
The account. Clean. You're there
Wiped
saying,
out.
I
We
have
have saving, we have
unit
unit
trust.
trust, we have this, that. But he used all the money in something that is unprofitable. He invested in
Betting. He invested in
he invested in I think invested in something that just went south.
Yeah.
It's not 5 million, it's not 10 million, it's
More.
tens of okay. Say you're constructing, you have plans. Why must I forgive such a
You have a loan you're
a wife?
servicing.
Probably you have a loan servicing.
But try not to make it worse.
He always has to add soap.
It's my
Why
nature.
must you? Because we are married, but I need reason to really forgive this person because
Unknowingly.
yes, yeah, we're a team,
Intentionally.
we're a team, we have
He comes back home, we see each other every day, but
He's
you have
never
not
even
told
told
me
you.
that you have wiped out our account.
Yikes. Yeah. Wow.
Forgiveness is a big thing in itself. And I think in looking at forgiveness, we need to be cognizant of the fact that different people will be reading from different pages. So, for example, if you're talking about forgiveness between a Christian and a Muslim couple, that's going to be a totally different ballgame. If you're talking about forgiveness between people who don't believe in the Bible, I mean, they just met and decided to be together, it's a totally different ballgame. If you're talking about forgiveness between people who are born again, it's a totally different ballgame. That's why initially I was like, forgiveness means different things to different people. But the truth of the matter is, and I am drawing from two people that are reading from the same page, which is the Bible. By the time you are coming together as husband and wife, it means there are certain compromises that you are ready to make. Because marriage is not a place for boys and girls. Marriage is a
You had
place
Marriage,
for maturity.
marriage is not a place for boys and girls.
Okay.
Marriage is a place of maturity and continuous and consistent growth. And that means many things. First of all, we also have to understand the very fact that marriage is a place of accountability. There is absolutely no way I am going to be in this marriage with Jane and then think that I am going to do whatever I want without necessarily being accountable to her. And it should be the other way around. Jane shouldn't be in this marriage and think that I'm in this marriage and I can do what I want. Because sometimes people hide under things like I am mature, my spouse shouldn't think that I don't know what I'm doing, I'm independent, and it gets to be worse with some of us who are pretty much educated. You're like, how can I be at this level? And this woman or this man is thinking this and the other about me and all that kind of thing. No. Marriage is a place of humility. And so by the time I am making a decision that I am coming to do life with Jane, and Jane is agreeing to the fact that Eric wants to do life with me, it ideally means that for everything that defines our stay together, we should be one. We should be in agreement. So whether it is about how many children we should get, it should first and foremost be an agreement between the both of us before outside parties come to give their opinion. And some of these outside parties behave like they have shares in our marriages, which shouldn't actually be the case. When it comes to how we spend money, it should be an agreement between me and my wife that this is our trajectory and all that kind of thing. Now, where you find cases where one party is doing things in a selfish way, then you definitely have a problem. And you need to ask yourself where they are reading from. in terms of the definition of their marriage. Because there's absolutely no way you're going to be reading from the same page and the guy is thinking about withdrawing all the money to take it to Betty at the expense of his family. What I have known for the years that I've been married is if you love your wife and if you love your children, you'll do everything to have them taken good care of. I mean, everything will be done in their interest, not necessarily even your very own interest.
Just being selfish, actually.
So when you find men and women who are selfish in marriage, then you just need to ask yourself where they are coming from. What are they reading? What is their base? What is their leverage for whatever they are doing and all that kind of stuff? And in most cases, you'll actually discover that the influence could be wrong and all that kind of thing. And actually, very many people out there do not understand why they are married. And this is one thing I keep telling young people who want to get married. Understand why you are getting married. Sit down and think about why you are getting there. Are you getting married because you want to prove a point? Everybody out there should know that I'm a married man, I have a ring, and that is it. So what? Am I getting married because I must prove a point that I have children, I can sire, and all that kind of thing? So what? Whether it's about people who know God and those who do not know God and all that kind of thing, all these mixes we are talking about. Whatever thing you are thinking of doing in marriage, they do. If it is sex, it's there. If it is children, they are there. So what is that thing that's going to make your marriage distinct from every other thing out there that could be called marriage, but when you look at it, you actually know there are issues. This is just not a marriage and all that kind of thing. For example, you can't be married and you're not communicating. Yet you know communication is the lifeline of any marriage. So what are you bringing into play? Is that your own definition of marriage? Are you setting a new standard or what? You know? You cannot get to some of those places and convince us that you are married. We'll look at you fine, you're showing us that we are married and all that kind of thing. But it will be clear that there are two different worlds there which cannot come near the definition of what we call marriage. And then I also want to say this, that forgiveness is, like I said, a big thing. And we come into marriage different people. So if, for example, you are not well prepared for marriage, it ideally means that even for things like forgiveness, for things like mercy that we are discussing, you're going to find it very, very difficult. For example, some people come into marriage just ready to be taken care of. Everything must be done for them and all that kind of thing. Now, if you come with that kind of attitude, I do not know how you're going to navigate those very difficult times and things like that. Because marriage is about doing life together. And you can't do life together when one party is in this mode, everything, and it's the other party that is working hard to make the thing work. That's just not marriage and all that kind of thing. And these are things like, for instance, I had to discuss with my wife before we got married. We had to, first of all, bring the both of us to that place of where are we taking each other? And what is our marriage going to be about? Are we just going there because we've grown of age and this is what society expects of us? Or we are going there knowing that, first of all, this is a calling that is divine from God. And then in this divine calling, we are going to have God as the center of our relationship. And in having Him as the center of our relationship and with His guidance, we're going to be able to work things out on a daily. Now, when you get to a place which is such that you understand the dynamics of marriage very well, even when it comes to areas where there is offense committed, knowingly or unknowingly, it becomes easy to forgive. It becomes easy to let go of what could be a hurt or something like that. Why? Because it will be clear that it has not been the intention of
To hurt you.
my friend to hurt me and things like that. Thank you.
I just want to say something, Daisy.
Yeah.
The thing of what Mark talked about of someone empties their account and runs off
Leaves you at zero. Leaves you
at
out.
zero. I just want to say that forgiveness is not that we shouldn't understand people's weaknesses and just say, oh well, I have to forgive.
That's how he is. He's
Oh
not good
well,
with
I have
money.
to forgive. Oh, no, there are consequences for things. Okay. So, for example, if you are the one sweeping off the account, probably I will make sure we'll sit down and say now, because you keep sweeping clean the account and we have more month than money. So we are going to change the account, and probably for the sake of the children, let me be the one with the pin. You get what I mean?
So what if he's not
No, it's not being hard. No, again, we are in this together. I don't think our husband would be very happy, or our wife would be very happy to see their children not having food or out of school because there's no school fees, and you took the money for betting. So I know you have that weakness. You really, really love betting. Okay, or you're someone who doesn't think around money properly. So I will, because I'm your
We're doing life together.
I'm your partner in this thing. So what I'll do, I'll sit down and also help you. I'm not just there to tell you the good things, also I'll tell you the things where you go wrong and say, you know what,
Also punishing.
I'm not punishing. I'm just saying, no. I'm just saying, you know what, we know we need, this is how much we need, and you know, last time when you took the money for betting,
We did not eat.
we didn't eat. We started eating 1 meal a day. So to avoid that, as you change from the betting ideas, let's do it like this. So for me, because I've found people who say, oh well, my husband is cheating, but I must forgive. My husband takes away everything. We buy land together. He sells it, but I have to forgive. You know, what's the balance? You know, because again, I don't want to be so injured and I don't even have any more life or zeal to work hard or anything. So I think there's a place for defining what the challenge is and agreeing or seeking counsel. You know, let's seek counsel from our elders, from people who read from the same script, you know. Yes, and how do we do this? How we need help, we need accountability, because we're not only accountable to each other, but also to our elders, our counselors, and so on.
And just to chip
I
in,
like how they're talking about an example of other people. Let me first let Eric go before.
I also want to say that when it comes to forgiveness, there is a lot of maturity that has got to be involved in this thing. Like, for example, if as the head of the home I have made a mistake and my wife has pointed it out to say, honey, when you do this, I get hurt. I should not justify it because she's told me what she feels like when I do a particular thing. I should find it in my heart to be humble enough to say, oh, I am sorry. Please forgive me. This won't happen again. But then the challenge has been, in most of the cases, that when something is pointed out, the other party looks at it as an accusation. And immediately they go on the defensive. And with that, you can never realize forgiveness. So you realize that if your communication is good, and the way you also bring the thing out, there can be lots of forgiveness on a daily basis, lots of acceptance for you to be able to move together on a daily. If, for example, you are dealing with an issue and you are making it look like your partner is under attack, be sure you're not going to get anywhere. But if you're but if you're dealing with an issue and it's clear that your partner is responsible for what
Taking ownership.
Yes, your partner is responsible for what is happening. And this is exactly where it is putting you. If there is maturity on the other side, they'll definitely take responsibility to say, no, I think this is right. You're right, my spouse. I hurt you. And I am willing to do anything to remedy this and to ensure that it does not happen again. So once we shift from that place of attack, defense, that kind of thing, we are going to experience such a beautiful thing in our marriages, because forgiveness will come automatic. And it's not going to be something that happens on a daily. Because I can assure you that once you establish a given synchrony, offense doesn't easily come. Like, for instance, you are consistently talking. It means you're on the same page. For instance, you're consistently praying together. It means you're on the same page. And so those opportunities for offense and getting hurt and all that kind of thing will be minimized to a very great extent. And one of the things people do not do, and I'm talking about couples, of course, is investing in knowing each other. How much do I know about who my wife is? And how much does,
the thing you know is the things you knew while you were dating.
While we were dating, but once
Now
you got
she
married,
has 3 babies.
and that is it.
She has evolved. She's a new woman.
Yes. Now the thing is this, that if
She's not good.
she's not God. Now the thing is this, that if I am a spouse who takes responsibility in terms of consistently knowing what my wife is, I will avoid very many things, for example, that would bring offense. Maybe in dealing with issues, I will know that this is what my wife is. For example, this is the personality of my wife. And with people of this personality, probably when you're approaching an issue, it is not good to follow this trajectory. It is good to follow this trajectory. They'll get the point very well and take responsibility. Now, if you do not do that, and for you, you are seeing the person you saw when you were wedding, you're going to have very serious issues. Yes, I am a melancholy, for instance. So if you hit at me like you, I mean, even if I am on the wrong, you are putting me on the defensive. I'll be like, so what exactly do you mean? And all that kind of thing. I'll not take responsibility. I'll try to protect myself to begin with, because your approach to me is like an attack. But if we learn, because communication is an art, if we learn the art of communication, by all these other things, who is my spouse, what is their personality, and all that kind of thing, it's going to be very, very, very easy for us to forgive and actually forget.
That's very critical.
And Best, you wanted to say something?
I like how you guys are talking about the guy who spent money, and whereas some of us here in the
You're the ones who spend money.
in the first year of our marriage, I think my husband got shocked. He put me in charge of finances, and I ceased to squander everything.
It was your job.
Your one job was to take care of
Actually,
your finances.
at that time, I wasn't exactly in charge, but both of us. But I would squander everything, waste money, look for things to buy. As soon as money comes out like this, I'll look for. It's as if
I'm sorry about that. Have you forgiven?
It's as if I would be fighting with the money to get done.
It's your enemy. It has to go.
It has to get.
It's a revelation on my part.
So, unlike Jen, who punishes the spouse, and they told me, and they told me, you like spending money. Okay. You're now in charge of the finances from today. Do you remember?
I'm waiting for it to.
So he told me, you're now in charge of our finances. You're going to do the budgets. You're going to plan. I'm like, that's very easy.
I can handle.
First, I can manage. First month.
Money is over.
He's like, okay, now we shall eat chapati, water. Don't worry. Can't you spend the money? So I had to learn and the hard way. So he put me in charge. and banage melancholics can discipline. I'm sanguine. I don't like discipline. Being disciplined. So it properly disciplined me. And now when I look back, I'm actually the one that prevents him from wasting money. I'm the one doing the savings.
You see, marriage is beautiful. Yeah.
I'm the one
Like
doing the
you said.
savings. I'm the one doing the investments. And it's a miracle to see
Where
that
did the urge
I
to
learned.
chase away the money go?
What happened?
I grew up.
Okay,
You grew up.
When you get married, and I like the point he made that marriage is not for boys and girls, because in the first year of our marriage, any small thing, you know what? I'm packing my bags, I'm leaving, I'm going, I'm tired. Someone has just done a small thing, and you're packing your bags for you're leaving.
Yeah.
And then, not even, I think for him, he did it once. For me, I'm like, I'm leaving. Any small thing, I'm leaving. There were so many options of leaving. And then we had to learn the hard way. But really, you're leaving, then what? Like, did you not think it was going to be hard work? And
What did you expect?
what did you expect? Like,
Yeah.
so when we came to that place, that's when I realized, okay, it's not for boys and girls. It's for growing up. Best grow up. And then recently, it's something I read that even changed my life better. Sometimes also, I think forgiveness comes from a place of a lot of disrespect. Your spouse tells you this, you don't want to listen. But remember that when your husband speaks, he's representing the image of the family. We used to have issues a lot. He would want to tell me something about dressing up. Please don't dress like that. Please do this. And I'm like, who are you to discipline? Who are you to tell me what to do?
I'm an independent woman. I've been dressing up like
It's my body.
It's my body.
If I'm shabby, I want to be shabby. Leave me alone. You don't want to be told. And then I recently read and realized I have to represent the image of God, which He wants to represent. So if I'm going to be shabby or be how I want, then I'm going to represent someone else's image, or, And then it also hit me hard that before God, we are all guilty. And before you even begin to look at other people's faults, this one has stolen, this one is cheating, just know that before God, the charge sheet is like this. You have these crimes before you, and you are guilty.
Yeah.
And you need to come to...
It doesn't matter guilty of what.
And it's not the other one is guilty of adultery, so they are more guilty than you. You're guilty. So when I learned that, I realized, and I used to disturb my husband in forgiveness issues. I wanted him to say sorry in a certain way, buy a certain gift,
Apologize a certain way, get frustrated.
So you had different gift amounts.
Apologize a certain number of times.
A certain number of times. I'm so sorry. Okay, this time I'm so sorry. Or apologize. I don't know.
Every time you say sorry, then she adds one, says,
You've not said sorry for what? You haven't told me sorry for what? You have to mention what you're sorry for.
but you didn't even do this. Say, I'm sorry.
But all that time, were you also like making mistakes? Like you were like so
you
quiet
were
and holy,
angel.
and then he was the sinner,
Was I?
I wasn't. So when I came to the realization that we are actually guilty. Actually, I told my husband, I'm sorry. And then I realized, even before someone does something, you just need to even forgive, even before they say sorry. Forgive, because even if they are busy forgiving you for I don't know how many charges per hour, per second, you're committing all sorts of sins and crimes, and God is busy waiting, ready
That
to
brings
forgive.
brings back to mind the video we did, I think, last week, where we shared that I think the Bible says it. Be careful if you think you stand, lest you fall. You might be condemning your spouse for a certain thing that they are doing, but it's not like you are holy and so we all have a certain level of sin. And I wanted to ask you, Jen, how do you build the trust after it has been broken? Be it through someone cheating, someone using up money a certain way, like you know that, okay, we're saving up 10 million to buy this land and build the capital, our family, and now you just find that he cleared the account He didn't even know where the money went. But when he was helping, this one had a problem, I helped. He didn't even waste it in betting. This one had a problem, I helped. Church needed to build, I paid. Now
I would like to build. I want to build onto that question.
My parents are sick.
my parents are sick. Yeah, I've
My
taken
brother
care
is
of
going
them.
to school.
Yeah, it's not like he has
Genuine
wasted the money. He has helped the world.
I want to build onto that question. Is silent treatment something that someone has to deal with in order to earn forgiveness?
Absolutely
It's a loaded
no.
question.
This question is heavy. 2 in 1. So how many marks for that? Section A. Make sure you do section A.
Answers are correct. The most correct.
I think Mark, from our template, he assured me no silent treatment, because that used to be a weapon that I had. Like if a friend hurt me, I'm very talkative, so when I keep quiet,
You will feel it.
when I keep quiet,
It's as loud
I'm
as you.
communicating.
How do you do it?
You know me every day. He has changed me, has helped me to get out of that. So he told me we're getting married, but I don't believe in this thing called silent treatment. And I really saw it's not the right way. Why wouldn't I tell him this is how I don't feel good because of ABCD? See? So I adopted to that, silence between us, and I don't think it's right, because then it kills the communication. Sometimes you're there silent, swelling and boiling, and your friend has no idea. But sometimes you have misconceived what you think they did this because they intended this, but that's not what they're thinking. So why don't you, as not a baby girl in the marriage, as a mature person, why don't you come up and say, this is what I feel when you do this. I feel this way when you do this. So that the person knows and you can get a solution. So silent treatment, it's not a weapon in our marriage. We're glad. Have I given you that? No. Thank you. So the thing of how do you build trust? I think that was the part B of the question. How do you build trust when it's being lost? Like we said, we are all vulnerable. She said we all err, we all need forgiveness, but then there is a bit of accountability. Like we earlier said, I will not keep working and giving you money to take it for betting. There has to be, even when we go to God and say, Father, forgive me, I have probably stolen or whatever. God doesn't expect me to keep stealing and expecting him to forgive me. You get what I mean? So there has to be a point of return, like turn my back away from that which I'm asking for forgiveness. There has to be that willingness. And if it is demonstrated, for example, if a spouse has cheated and you've sat together and agreed, no, this is not, and he has acknowledged. For me, that's the beginning point of you and my trust. If you've hurt me, you say, if you take responsibility and say, yes, I did it, I am sorry. That's it's the beginning point of me saying, oh well, he did not mean this, or he respects me and how I feel. And then also we work together. Who say, now I'm your partner, I'm supposed to help you not to fall. Maybe it's a weakness you have, like the money or whatever. So we work together and say, I think we should do these things. What do you think about this? We work through how we're going to help, how I'm going to help you. If it is because girls are always around you and you never realize and you're always with them, maybe it's the way you talk to them. I say, no, be careful. You know how you talk to these single people. Maybe it is the way you always picking their clothes at midnight and they say, oh, I think there's a cockroach.
Get the wrong idea.
Yeah, there's a cockroach flying in my room, and you drive all the way to come and help this single sister at midnight to kill a cockroach. So I have to help. So if I see you committed to the plan of restoration, of you getting out of the weakness that caused you to hurt me, then trust will come. The other way around is how it will not come.
Yeah.
You're not willing to accept your mistake.
You're
not willing to change. You're still telling me lies. I'm human. I'm not supposed to imagine that you're not doing anything when you're doing something.
Yeah. Forgiveness happens, but reconciliation takes to work.
Wow.
You have to
And
come to
sadly,
this.
the other way around is what is very common. And why? It's because, first of all, our gender believes that they have a right to stray. I have interacted with very many men, some of them very committed to the Lord, but you see that thing coming out. They kind of don't feel they did what was wrong. And society seems to support that. Society seems to condemn women who do the exact thing. And we even see it from scripture. I mean, you remember that woman who was having
They did
issues.
bring the man, they brought the
There was the woman and everyone wanted to stone her. And we see it in our present age and so on. So that's a very big problem. And it will involve a paradigm shift and intentionality in consistently doing what is right. Now, one of the things that helps to avoid some of these things is the preparation, like I said. Because, believe you me, gaining trust when it comes to issues of infidelity is something that very few couples attain. Where a man strays or a woman strays, and they work things out, and there is total trust. It is very few couples that attain that, because most of the couples will try to work through things, but there will still remain doubts and things like that.
Because it's not automatic.
Because it's not automatic. And it is worse for us Christians if you had premarital sex. So you had sex and nobody knew about it. And here you are married. And you know, during your wedding day, we all celebrated and were like, wow, what a glamorous couple, and so on. Then you begin struggling with issues, and all of us are scratching on the surface. But the root cause of the problem is you messed somewhere. Most of these couples will normally find it difficult to trust. And that's a very, very serious issue. Because if you think of marriage as a house, trust is what forms the roof. But like for the foundation, you have truth and commitment. Now, once the trust goes, once the roof goes, I mean, you can imagine you're in a house. Once you just see clouds gathering, you're like, my goodness, it's going to rain and I'm not going to be safe.
Sometimes you
and
can
all that
imagine
kind of
they're
thing.
coming.
Yeah, sometimes you imagine they're coming and so on. So I keep telling people that the best thing is for you just not to get there, because when you get there, it complicates everything. People can reconcile where there are issues of money. People can reconcile when the husband is addicted to sports.
Greatly separate a lot of people. Issues of money are very sensitive.
But I mean, you will find that some people can work it out and say, okay, let's get back together, compared to infidelity. Because with infidelity, the gaining of trust again is very difficult. I mean, this one involves bodies.
It's not like you're going to put a pin on your husband and keep
which you can do with the money, you know.
But now he walks out of the house and you're wondering,
And
has he really
has he
gone
gone
to
to
work?
work
He has gone
and
to
things
meet.
like that and so on.
Oh, I put iron underpants.
Yes. And what I also want to say is,
still keeping they haven't changed.
if someone gets into this institution, like I said before, thinking that they know it all, they are superior, that's the beginning of their downfall. I'll give you an example of me and Jen. Jen is very good with money. She's a finance person, like you know it. I must confess that I am learning lots of lessons with money. For me, when I have money, I'm thinking of,
What do we need?
what is it? I mean, I walk into a mall and I'm thinking, what do I buy for Jen? What do I buy? I mean, I'm in charge. And all that kind of thing. And you know, staying together, I sit and I'm like, I think I have a problem. Now, my wife has a very, very serious strength there. And I'm thinking, if I learn from my wife, is it going to make me any less of a man?
No.
Not at all. It will actually make me a better man. So what has happened is we have consistently sat together and I have actually done the listening when she's talking about finances. And I even ask questions. So honey, what do you think about this? Teach me about this. Teach me about the other. Now you'll find me talking to people about finances. You'll be like, my goodness, this guy is good. But you know, I have drawn it from my wife.
From experience.
But you'll find a case in place where a man will not be humble enough to say, I'm going to learn from my wife. Especially when you come from some of our cultures. I'm a Gishu. And for me, a man is a man.
A man is a man.
A woman has nothing to say. You know?
It's not her place.
It's not her place. So if I come with that in marriage, then I know I'm dying. Why? Because I'll be putting myself in a place of danger by not making use of such a great resource that is just by my side. So when she advises and we do things together and it's working, interestingly, it's me who gets the credit. I mean, I walk in Maule village and I meet men who greet me. Thanks for the good job you have done. I love your house. But they don't know how the house came into play. The brainchild is this lady here. Let's do this. Let's save money and all that kind of thing. And a very powerful thing that will help us actually find life easy is riding on each other's strength. If as a man I know my wife has this particular strength and I ride on it, there's absolutely no way I am going to cause an offense which will lead to issues of heart, bring unforgiveness into play and all that kind of thing. It will instead.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say, the only thing I wanted to say was, it's an interesting topic, mercy and forgiveness. And what I wanted to say was, I think it's not mercy if it's earned.
Oh, yeah.
So
Very
Let's say
valid.
that again.
Very
It's
valid.
not mercy
it's,
if it's earned.
yes, it's not mercy if it's earned. Because as Christians,
valid.
we know that we don't earn mercy.
Yeah.
And even in a marriage, which is supposed to be a picture for the Christian walk, we should know that if we are to show mercy, we can't show it after someone has done a number of things to earn it.
Yeah, that's true.
It has to be something ready and available to be given
Yeah.
for the person who needs it. Because, like I've always shared with you guys, you know this, that as Jesus also says, if as you show mercy, then you will also be shown mercy. You know, because why? When the opportunity arises, and a brother or a sister is in wrong, do not be the accuser, but be the person that will sympathize with.
The accuser is the
Will
devil.
help. Don't be what the devil is. Don't be the accuser. Because then, when your turn comes, who will stand for you? You know? And where will the evidence be that you deserve the same treatment? You know. So it's a requirement. It's something we just have to have available. And silent treatment is as though you're trying to make the person earn your mercy, which is totally wrong.
I think silent treatment is completely ungodly.
So
I think
it's
worse
wouldn't
than-
recommend it, and I would encourage those who are watching that if your spouse has wronged you in any way, always have a reservation of mercy, you know, available to show, to give to them. Because when the tables are turned, you'd want the same done to you. You know, it doesn't have to be in the marriage; it can be anywhere else. You know? I think if you want something, you have to give. You have to give
show
it.
mercy.
You have to show it, because our best teacher is the Master, Christ, and we have to follow what he does and what he did and what he says. And
That's for sure. And
and
yours
in
always
marriage,
standing out with her.
yeah, in marriage, we do not have to we do not have to embrace a habit of silent treatment, because it's a sort of punishment. It's a sort of penance, you know, that someone has to pay so that they can earn your mercy, which is
your
really, really wrong.
forgiveness.
I think the unforgiving, sometimes we talk of forgiveness, but there are people who are just so unforgiving. They're just so, and for me, I think it's a display of self-righteousness. And
You feel like you're above
For you
sin.
telling
all
everyone
the
you're
time,
above sin.
every time, say, but who does that? Who does that? By the way, you also
Even
do
you
certain
do
things
also,
that
you also
some
do.
people don't do.
Every day.
Some people are just so unforgiving. They're just so unforgiving, and an unforgiving spouse.
Who takes
It's
record?
just- they keep a record.
Daily.
Especially if someone is sorry, you know, and what activates mercy is the response. The person who knows they've done wrong. The Bible teaches us should be shown mercy. He who confesses his sins receives mercy or attains mercy. Who conceals sin perishes. So we have to
Actually, when you
give it if the person is actually genuinely sorry. You know, if the person is not sorry, that's a different situation altogether. But if the person knows what they did was wrong and is willing to change, then
Let me just throw a spanner in the works. What if someone is sorry in their actions, but they don't come to tell you, you know what, I am sorry.
They can't.
I wronged you.
They're not
Hey,
humble
but
enough
How do you
to.
verify?
Not like now, say he has been cheating, and now he has changed his ways, but he's not going to admit to you that I cheated. He's not going to come and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my love, for breaking your trust. But I'm like, he's not going back.
It's not so.
You're mixing
Yeah.
pride, pride, and because pride is a lie. It's such a big lie. If you can't accept, if you can't say, I did it.
Humble yourself too.
Yeah, then you're so proud. Sometimes we say, oh no, it's so humbling for someone to come down. But if you did it, then you accept it. Because if you say, I'm going to change, but I can't acknowledge this, then you're running away from accountability. For me, I think if there is deception in there and pride in there, then you're killing your own marriage, by the way. Yes, you're killing your own marriage, because if you can't acknowledge that I made this mistake, or sometimes pride comes in and you'd say, no, but I did, but you know it down in your heart. You should be saying, I'm sorry.
And it makes things so easy.
Some spouses demand, I need to ask that question probably. Someone demands
an apology.
Demands for forgiveness. You get?
Like now you have caught me and you have apologized.
Forgive me. Then tomorrow they go and do the same thing. But when I say, but last time you did this.
Forgiveness. Even apologizing in the first place.
No, you're not repentant. You're not repentant. That's right.
In the first place.
But it gets back to what I was telling you. When you are in this marriage, what exactly are you doing there? Because that also matters, what you are doing there. Are you together to show the world that you are husband and wife, but each is on their own trajectory, or what? Because if you are determined to grow, some of those things will not be there. There is nobody who is going to stand to justify himself, herself, to say, I am right. You'll not even demand for forgiveness and things like that. When you're on the same page, many of these things just work out without any effort. They work out because each party knows that it's my responsibility to make this work. It's my responsibility to make the marriage flourish. And you'll not feel like you've been put down or you've been belittled. No, it will not come. It will just be one of those things of, yes, I accept I have done this, and it's a place of growth. And when you read scripture, God hates pride. There are people who find it very difficult to say, I'm sorry. There are people who find it difficult to say, forgive me. But we know what the Lord did to the devil.
Yeah.
Because of pride, he cast him from heaven. And the Bible says God resists the proud. In other words, even drawing close to his presence is an issue. He resists you. But to
God
those that
resisting
are
you.
humble, he gives grace.
Come on.
And that's the thing that should define our marriages.
Even before, there's this thing of thinking you, when you've done things or you've done wrong things, you start doing spiritual warfare. And I think, you want to pray, forgive me, Holy Spirit, do this. But I think the greatest form is to first come in humility before God. Proper humility of accepting. That's where everything begins to be.
And then growth as individuals in marriage is also very important. And what kind of growth am I talking? I'm talking about the growth that comes out of our intimacy as individuals to begin with, in as far as our relationships with God are concerned. Because what happens is, if you think of a triangle, if God is up here, the wife is down here, the husband is down here. And each of them is making an effort to draw close to God.
Yeah.
By default, as a result of that consequence of things, they'll be drawing closer to each other in their effort to get to God. And in that way, you're going to reduce on offenses and a lot of issues here that would apparently demand for forgiveness and all that kind of thing. But again, that's an area of growth for many people who are married, because in this very busy world where everybody's thinking about, I want money, I want this, we are everywhere except in that place where we can grow in God and make our marriages better. And that's a place where we need to put a check, ponder, and get to be like, no, something has got to be worked out.
Yeah. Okay. So this will be my last question, and it's to you, Ande and Best. When you discover those things while you are confessing to each other, how did you build your trust that now you will see Best going out and you will not be thinking things, or you'll see Ande taking a trip, a work trip, and you're not thinking that the work trip is somewhere else?
It
Very
took
good
a
one.
long time. I think it took like 2 years
Yeah.
or more,
To trust again.
fully.
To be able to trust it was before marriage.
Remember,
Or
we got married,
that's before.
irrespective of what we had got to know about each other
Yeah.
and what we were capable of
A
doing.
year or a year or something before.
Yeah,
A year and
it's-
something before.
No, it was
A year and or something before, right?
when we
When we go
confessed.
to confess and
Confess.
discover.
It was not a year. It was few months.
Yeah.
A few months to the wedding.
Okay. Yes. Now
We
I'm
still got
remembering.
married, but deep inside,
You knew.
Still feel like
there was that feeling of, especially I think on her part, you know, of I
Because
know
your
what this guy
confessions were
can do,
heavy.
you know, I know his capacity, his capability. So I could tell for a while that she was not trusting me fully. So I had to find a way to prove that I was worth the trust that she was going to give me. So over time, I had to, as much as I could tell, as much as I noticed that it was there, but it was scanty, you know. I had to find a way to continually with time. First of all, I had to understand her. I had to know that
understand someone
it's
else.
very normal,
For her to feel like
you know.
that.
And once in a while, I would get tired, you know, of feeling doubted, and then I'd say, why aren't you, you know, why can't you just?
Yeah.
So it took a while, but with time, I began to notice
He
that
makes all things new.
she was now beginning to release me and trust me, and it took God also to create certain particular situations to prove that I was capable of that trust. I was that she could actually give it to me. So I thank her for allowing herself to trust me, and for those who are thinking about doing what we did, just know that it may take time. It may not take time for the trust to build up again, but when it does,
It's stronger.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
I wanted to share that there's a time I had someone say that when trust is broken, it cannot be built. And at that time, I thought, hey, when trust is broken, it's like a glass. But actually, God makes all things new. Even when there's adultery, in fact, even when there's adultery, the better. He will make things all new. He can restore anything. So in our issue, before we got married, I had maybe a lot of trust issues. And you forgive, tomorrow you feel like, okay, I think you can forgive, but you won't forget. So you keep remembering, tomorrow you're like, but banage. Then I think what sobered me up was, but you also have your part, your things you are doing. You were innocent. And you feel you can't forgive someone for this, and yet you weren't innocent either. And then also what helped me sober was, after some time, I noticed he was over apologizing. He's changing, and then I'm not changing. You're not being a better spouse, because now for you feel like you've arrived. You don't want to forgive. And the other person is working on themselves, is changing, is growing. So it hit me hard. I was like, no, I can't be the one lagging behind. So I started changing as well, realizing I need to forgive. I need to change. I also have a lot to change on. A lot have been forgiven. So, and God makes all things new in His time.
Yeah. So I want us to, in just 30 seconds, share your parting shots. And I want you to speak to a couple that's in a place where they are struggling with rebuilding trust, with forgiving. And this usually even happens among the younger couples. Like you find these people, they were so in love, lovey-dovey, 6 months into the marriage is on the rocks. I want you to speak to that new couple that is learning to navigate marriage, and they're in a place where they're learning to forgive, they're struggling with forgiveness.
Do not take each other for granted. Just because your partner forgives you, when you love someone, you hope for better. You think, they didn't mean this, let me forgive them. But some people take that for granted. So
She's going to forgive me.
she will always forgive me. She will not do anything. She will stay. She's not going anywhere. So don't take your partner, your spouse, your husband or wife for granted. Just because they forgive you does not mean that they can't do anything about it. They are choosing to love you. They are choosing love over the hurt that they feel. So don't take them for granted. And then also be forgiving. Just because the person has hurt you does not mean that you're really, really so innocent. Like he said earlier, acknowledging your mistake activates mercy in the other person. Someone who has said, I'm sorry, and they mean it, not acting, I'm sorry. Someone who has said, I'm sorry, it's very easy to forgive them.
Or someone who says, okay, I'm sorry.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry, but okay, because you want it, I'm sorry. No. If someone is genuinely sorry, it's very easy to be forgiven, because they make you merciful. So let's not take others for granted. Let's not take each other for granted, and then also be able to acknowledge your mistake. The other partner find it easy to forgive you.
I just want to say this, that marriage is God's grand idea for mankind. And so for all of us that are in marriage, it's not our thing. We are not trying to have our input in this thing called marriage. And that ideally means that we have to learn to draw close to God and hear Him in every situation. If we do that, even where we think there are particular situations that can't be remedied, God will bring divine healing. And we'll find reconciliation, we'll find trust being rebuilt, and we'll find every reason to hold together and look forward to a better future. Thank you.
Before you even refuse to forgive, just know we're all patients in a hospital, and in God's hospital, we all need mercy. We all need forgiveness. So before you start to think your spouse needs to be forgiven more, you first humble yourself before God and realize you might even need more mercy than your partner.
Yeah.
So Please forgive, 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 forgive. Forgive even when you don't need to forgive. Forgive.
Mine is there are very many examples out there. If you just take the chance to look around, you will see some good examples. Don't make decisions or don't stick to only the ones that suit what you feel is justified. But there are very many good examples out there of marriages that you can look at, of situations that might have even been worse than what you're going through. And then if you're keen enough, if you're patient enough, you may learn something, and that could help your marriage grow. So don't be restricted to only the.
So marriage is beautiful, but just because something is beautiful doesn't mean that it won't have thorns and things that are unpleasant about it. So choose to stay married, choose to learn, to unlearn and to relearn. You're not married to an angel, and you're not an angel, so you're all bound to error. You're going to make mistakes. Just be ready to forgive over and over again. Be ready to extend mercy. Yeah. Do you have parting shots, babe?
I forgive you.
Yeah, anyway, thank you, baby. Share this video with somebody. We know that we've shared so many nuggets and they will help many marriages. And
If you've watched up to this point,
subscribe.
Please like this video.
Share.
Subscribe.
And turn on your notifications.